Kia ora, everyone. Kia ora, everyone. Happy International Women's Day to everyone. My name is Samjana. I'm the facilitator for today's event. I'm a youth case worker from Shakti Christchurch. And first of all, thank you all for being here. I know you all are busy. It means a lot. So today our topic focus will be on women's and conflict. We did the same talk. We had the same thing last year. We decided to keep the theme same because not much has changed over time, Like the conflict is still going on, women's are still impacted. So we thought it needs more talk, awareness, and so on. So without any delay, I would like to welcome Mariam Edwards for our karakia. Can you please? Yeah.
Kia ora, can you hear me?
Yes.
Kia ora koutou mai. Nā mihi nui kia koutou I tēnei wā.
Why they discuss safe house story?
Ko Marian Kirapiti Edwards ahau. No Ngāti Wai tuku iwi. O tai tukurau. E noho ana I te taho koutou I tēnei rā. He tīmata te karakia. Tēnā e te atua, tēnā koutou whaia mai mātou I roto I te rangi Māori me te aroha. Ho mai ki a mātou te manaaki, te kaha me te māramatanga I a roto I tēnei hui. Kia noho mai te wairua o te kōtahitanga ki te whakakotahi I a mātou he tautoko I ngā wahine, ngā māma, me ngā whānau I roto I te ao. Āmene. Just want to also have a quick little whakatau for this hui, as is traditional with us. If you don't mind, I'll just start that too. I te rā nei, ka hui hui mātou, he whakanui I ngā wahine, he whakanui a mātou anō. Kei te mihi ki ngā tino wahine I noho ana I a mātou. E hāpai ana I te kaupapa o te rā, mā rātou e ārahi, e whakatū I ngā arahau, mō ngā whakatupuranga, kei te heke mai. Kia ora. Nā mihi, nau mai, hara mai, whakatau mai rā wahine mā. Kia ora.
Great. Thank you so much. That was truly beautiful. Now, I would like to introduce you all to Dr. Shanti. Dr. Shanti is a chairperson of Shakti. She is currently a GP in Manukau, and she brings a bank of knowledge and experience and dedication to the work we do as a Shakti. And she's, yeah.
Kia ora, good evening or good afternoon, and greetings from all the women, to all the women who are present here and who are listening to us. I'm Dr. Shanti Selvakumar. I actually practice in Blockhouse Bay Medical Center, not in Manukau. But the association with Shakti has been, goes back good 25 years in various capacity. And at the moment, I'm the chairperson for Shakti Women's Refuge Trust. I actually is a very privileged and huge honor to welcome all of you present here and who has put a lot of time and effort in setting this International Women in Conflict Forum discussion together. Ekta and other people who have been working very hard on this, Sanjana. And I also would like to thank all the distinguished guests who are here to speak. We are all experts in whatever field we are in, but when it comes to conflict, we are still a long way to go. Like what Sanjana mentioned, between last year and this year, things haven't got better either. I know I was reading an article, it says 2158 before we get gender equality, as per the research shows, which is 5 generations away. because various reasons. But one of the main thing which attracted me was the power of education, which they say that out of the whole population in the world, two-third of the women are not educated, which is really very disappointing, that they have no access to any form of education. So I think each one of us, I feel, I saw the International Women's Day theme this year is to accelerate action. You would have noticed that, and they say the color for the Women's Day is purple, and I only read, I was already wearing purple today, so I thought it was quite a coincidence. It's no point in doing all these things when we, at an individual level, if we can't become the light we could carry. So whoever around us, women, young children, boys and girls, as mothers, as teachers, as to whatever profession we are in, if we can light up that spark in them about education, every child should be educated in whatever interest fields, because that is something which is going to give them the power of discrimination. I think the biggest problem nowadays is we women, we don't, lot of women amongst us. I'm been so surprised that they don't know their rights. They don't know that they belong. They don't belong to anyone. They are independent. I think from birth they have been said, "Oh, listen to your parents." Then they are asked to listen to their siblings or the siblings. Can you, someone's muted, I think. Please mute, yeah. And then we are told to listen to your um, peers, and then your partner or husband, or so it goes on, like you have to listen to someone. You really don't teach. We need to teach them to, not that you don't listen, you need to listen, but you need to be able to have the discrimination, which is the sense of understanding that you have that innate power and intelligence to make that right decision yourself. You don't need advice all the time. If you really get all the information, sit in a corner and put the points through and see what should I do in this situation, you will know. I think it's most of us have that ability. It's just that we don't tap into that ability which is given to us naturally. It's clouded, it's programmed by the upbringing, environment we are in. So it's so important to work on that. And without me giving a long talk, I will open the forum to the distinguished guests here who are going to enlighten us on various topics. And welcome again, and thank you for the opportunity to address. Welcome to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shanti. That was said wonderfully. Yeah, we got a long way to go. Now I would like to introduce Mi Kun. She hails from the ethnic Man community of Southern East Mena. She has passionately and vocally advocated for women's participants in peace process for over a decade. So I'd like to pass it on to her, please.
Mangirao. Good morning from which I arrived this part of the Asia, and good afternoon to all of you who are in New Zealand. My name is Kun Chan Non, yeah, and I'm a Mon ethnic, and I'm from Myanmar. I think Myanmar, maybe like maybe some of you might not know Myanmar, but so Myanmar is like near the Thailand, between Thailand and India. So like there is a country, and I will. So thank you so much for Samjana. That's also talking about the same thing that you have been focusing on last year and this year and maybe in the future, because like conflict in Myanmar, as I will explain you more from my preparation. No? So I'm work with the Mon Women's Organization since 1992 over from the border. As because of the conflict, I have to flee to the border and then I have to stay in the refugee camps and then walk. So since then, I was actively involved, and also I resettled in New Zealand as a human rights defenders in November 2024, just recently. So like, thank you so much for Shakti for inviting me and share about share at the International Women Days on the women's and conflict as like the conflict that we have been facing in Myanmar. So for over the 70 years, Myanmar has been enduring political, ethnic, and arms conflict with the military control and exacerbating the situation. The prolonged civil war has led to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of people, with women and children particularly vulnerable to violence, exploitation, and marginalization. The since military attempt coup in 2021, again, like our country being independence from the British in 1947, after the independence from the British, we have been started the civil war. So that the military coup happened again and again in Myanmar. Now it's like the fourth time of the military coup in Myanmar. So in 2021, February, the conditions have been worsened in our country. The country, as well as the including women, gender diverse individuals, and persons with disabilities, has resisted the military junta. The widespread violence, arbitrary detention, and several human rights abuses have escalated. And approximately 3.4 million people have been displaced, and many face life-threatening situations. According to the Women, Peace and Security Index in 2023, arms conflict disproportionately affected women, girls, and children. By February 2025, we will see like 6,378 people have been killed and 28,732 arbitrarily arrested, including 20 to 22% of women and children, alongside pro-democracy activists and civilians. So that is in Myanmar situations, just in the glance of the data, but more on that in the data, it shows that total of 10.4 million, which includes 7.1 million women and 3.3 million of girls, need humanitarian assistance, and they are 52% of the total population who need the humanitarian assistance from Myanmar. So like you have heard about the USAID cut all the assistance in all around the world. That was totally affected the big populations of Myanmar in humanitarian setting. So women and people with disability and the LGBTQIA plus individuals have been disproportionately affected by the conflict, and during the gender-based violence, displacement, and loss of livelihood. Despite these challenges, those groups have remained at the forefront of the advocating for peace, human rights, and justice. Women rights organizations, civil society groups, and LGBTQIA plus and people with disability organizations have played key roles in resisting the dictatorship, fighting against a culture of impunity and violence, and promoting peace for Myanmar. So for us, we also use the international treaty, agreement, resolution, mechanisms, a framework are the standard to protect women's rights and to promote gender equality, especially in this conflict setting journey. Especially we use CEDAW, Beijing Platform for Action, that we are now on the stage of the Beijing Plus 30. And women, peace and security, especially we use like UNSCR 1325 and Sixtus resolution that really can protect women and make sure that women participation in decision making in conflict setting are important in the international framework. From all the resolution, we will see like participation, prevention, protection, relief and recovery, and also more importantly, like we also need to talk about conflict-related sexual violence, and also we need to implement the National Action Plan. But for Myanmar, we are not yet developed for the National Action Plan, but we are on the process of developing that. More importantly, when we talk about women and conflict-related sexual violence, that is like we can see the conflict create more difficult for vulnerable people such as women, girls, LGBTQI+ persons. The CRSV refers to incidents to the pattern of sexual violence perpetrated by the armed actors, including state militaries, non-state arms group, militia, police, and others under the control of the armed actors. It also occurs when it's like directly or indirectly related to the conflict. So conflict or post-conflict or any other situations, such as in Myanmar, we can say that the political related conflict, and also we have been overcome for the COVID-19 and also nature disaster. So those kind of conflicts really affected in Myanmar for more than 7 decades, as I already briefed earlier. There are some examples of the CRSV reported from Myanmar. There is one report that you can see they reported in 2002. There was incidents from 2009, 1999, 1996 to 2001. So that is called the report called Reasons to Rape. There was incidents detail about 173 incidents of rapes and other forms of sexual violence. And also there was in the Shan state, one of the ethnic regions in Myanmar, and also other ethnic regions we call Kachin state. There was in northern part of Myanmar. They also have lots of CRSV cases that they have been filing, but that perpetrator not being punished and not being sentenced in the process. So I mean, like, as we have been in Myanmar, have been like more than 7 decades of prolonged civil war, and then now we have very bad dictatorship. So that's, we cannot, we have to be with the conflict, then we have to deal with the conflict. So we have to make sure that women to participate in decision making in the conflict settings. So I really would like to highlight here that why we need women participations in the conflict setting. There is 3 points. So one, we believe in the equality, equity, and the justice. So we have to promote gender equality is a fundamental of human rights and the social justice. So as the Shakti chair already mentioned about the women, we need our rights, and that we have to aware, and that we have to educate it. We have to share the information for women to be confident for their rights. So that can lead to the promoting the gender equality in the future, and also can be for the we can work for the social justice. Number 2 is effectiveness. So more than half of the populations are women. Here, we believe that diverse perspective led to better decision-making and more comprehensive solutions. And thirdly, we also focus on sustainability. So, like as I already mentioned, that inclusive peace process are more likely to result in lasting peace and development. So that's really important 3 points. And so whatever we work for the in the conflict setting, we always focus on that and advocating to the different stakeholders to be part of that. And also, so as Chair already mentioned about we celebrate the International Women's Days. So in Myanmar, we have a kind of the open in the democracy transaction from 2010, between 2010 and 2020, before the military coup. We have like 10 years of free to move, and we have like a kind of like good education system that we can learn from any part of the world. So when it's come to the open a country at the time, we did lots of advocacy on the International Women's Day. But after the military coup in 2021, every situation has been worsened, and most of the young, they lost their future. Now, as you might know, that forced conscription law that will permit to all the young under the 35 years of age to be in the military, because we have been, after the military attempt coup, the many people were against to the military dictator, and many of the youth, they hold the arms and then fight against the military junta. So like all the future of the youth and our country have been very worse. And then, as I already mentioned, we don't have the we cannot learn education, we cannot get the livelihood opportunity. So like so many people were displaced because of the fight. And so like there is the conflict that make our people difficult. So as we all know that the UN themes on this year on the International Women's Day. So we have to really force and move faster for the women protection and the gender equality to stop war and conflicts around the world. So we need to create an opportunity for women to be able to involve in the political leadership and decision-making roles. This also, we need much work to support from women, especially from women and all other community members all around the world. We will need to continue our fight and our great work on gender equality for our society and for our community and also for our globe. So that's what I really would like to share. And there is so much difficult things, as I already mentioned, that I was in New Zealand as a human rights defender, but I'm still working with a different women group and network that working. So thank you so much for listening to me and being with us in this solidarity. Thank you. Tanggunaan.
Thank you, Minkun. That was beautifully, and what you said is completely correct there. It's women supporting women that should be up there, and then we have other people in the community who just back us up and make us stronger for us to fight for a better change. So now I would like to call Eilish, our communication and media officer, for a little presentation. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. So yes, my name is Eilish. I am working in communications and media at Shakti. I will just present a presentation on the recent Gaza ceasefire with a conversation of women negotiating for peace and some context of the Palestinian struggle. So I'll just share screen, and if you just bear with me a minute. Okay. Okay, so some of you may know that Palestine has seen over 76 years of, hold on just a moment. 76 years of immense ongoing settler colonial violence. Okay. So in 1948, the Nakba, translating to catastrophe in Arabic, signified the establishment of the settler colony of Israel, a pivotal and traumatic episode in Palestinian history. What followed in the years after were successions of catastrophes, further occupation, suffocating sieges, apartheid, massive land loss, ethnic cleansing, and exile. The most recent escalation has been marked by the breaking of the blockaded prison walls of Gaza on October 7th, 2023. From then until now, Palestinians have suffered 15 months of deliberate and systemic genocide perpetrated by the State of Israel, the USA, and the collective West. An estimated number of 17,881 children and 12,316 women have been killed, and over 17,000 children have lost both parents. It is worth noting that with the lack of proper surviving facilities to count the martyred, these figures can be considered a gross undercount. It is also further worth noting that each life lost is much more than just a number. With the ceasefire deal recently announced 48 days ago, it begs the question, why do Palestinians have to negotiate? So in this next slide, I will present to you a clip from the Al Jazeera podcast series, Now You Know, where this host, Samantha Johnson, speaks with Diana Buttu in Doha, where the Gaza ceasefire was recently agreed. So Diana Buttu is an international human rights lawyer and analyst, a former legal advisor to the PLO, and a defender of the Palestinian cause. In this discussion, they discuss how negotiations are agreed and what it takes to get an agreement, especially on a topic like Israel and Palestine. Okay.
Be here. Well, I do want to start our conversation with the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. Now, I'm intrigued to know, because of your background and experience as an international human rights lawyer and a former negotiator, what does this ceasefire mean to Palestinians in Gaza and in the occupied West Bank?
The idea that Palestinians need to negotiate the end of their genocide is quite repugnant. The idea that we have to negotiate for bombs to stop falling on our heads and for bombs to stop targeting Palestinian hospitals and schools and universities and homes and kids, it's quite repugnant. It's a perverse system. Since the ceasefire has been announced, there's been Palestinians, particularly in Gaza, have felt a measure of relief. They're now able to go and try to dig out their dead, because many people are still trapped under the rubble. I've had friends who've called me and said, can you check with the Israelis if they're holding my friends, my families? I have other friends who've been posting on social media pictures of their loved ones, and they know they're dead, asking for people to just give them information about where they're buried so that they can go and pay their respects to them. And then there's others where people are thinking about how to go home, but it's not really a home. All you see is massive amounts of rubble. It's apocalyptic. And despite that, people are feeling a measure of relief because, again, they don't have the bombs dropping on their heads. The feeling that I and others have is that Netanyahu is the only way that he can stay in office is if he continues genocide or if he continues to attack Palestinians. This is the formula.
What happens to his political career?
You know, one would hope that he'd be finished, and not only be finished politically, but that he would end up being tried before the International Criminal Court.
Sorry, I'll just have to bring this back up again.
Be here.
Well, I do want to start
back to them. And then there's others where people are thinking about how to go home. This is the formula.
What happens to his political career?
You know, one would hope that he'd be finished, and not only be finished politically, but that he would end up being tried before the International Criminal Court. But I just don't see that that's on the horizon, certainly not with President Trump, and certainly not with an Israeli polity that doesn't see that he's done any wrong.
When the ceasefire was announced, again, as a former negotiator, what was going through your mind?
Having read the agreement and seen many, many drafts of it, there are so many gaps in this agreement. And it's an agreement that's going to rely on goodwill, primarily on the Israeli side. The other thing that struck me is in the agreement, they talk about bringing in 600 trucks a day into the Gaza Strip. Again, why is it that Palestinians have to negotiate the number of trucks and the humanitarian aid?
Israel has put a ban on UNRWA, the agency that's been helping Palestinians for decades. Can you just remind our audience why they've taken that decision and what it means for Palestinians?
So the Israelis passed two laws. One law is to shut down its operations in Jerusalem. And the other is that the Israeli government and Israeli officials will no longer coordinate or cooperate with people from UNRWA. And what that means is that the hundreds of thousands of Palestinians who rely on UNRWA's support in the Gaza Strip, we're talking about more than 50% of the humanitarian aid that's being distributed by UNRWA. This is food supplies. Not coordinating with UNRWA means that food is just not going to come in. In the West Bank, we're talking about medicines. We're talking about schools. We're talking, and also in the Gaza as well. And so it's not clear. But that's the whole point, is that Israel wants to get rid of UNRWA because they believe that by getting rid of UNRWA, they will get rid of the Palestinian refugee issue. They won't. And I haven't seen this chorus of countries coming forward and saying to Israel, excuse me, you can't do this.
Soon after the ceasefire came into effect, Israeli forces raided homes in Jenin, in the occupied West Bank. What do you make of that?
Their whole point is to just terrify Palestinians in the hopes that they will leave. I remember very clearly, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night from it, when the Israelis came into my own home and kicked me out of my home at gunpoint and took over my home for several days, and used neighbors as human shields. I'm telling you, I'll never forget it. This was back in 2002. Heard the tanks rolling into the city of Ramallah, where I lived. Saw a tank just outside of my window. I lived in an apartment building. I heard them smash through the glass door, which was the entrance into our apartment building. And the next thing I heard was my neighbor, who came over and with all dignity rang the doorbell and said to me, Deanna, they want you to come out. They forced me out as they were shooting. I got into my car and drove the wrong way on a one-way street, with me flashing the entire time, terrified that a tank was that they were going to shoot me. And drove halfway across town in Ramallah, where I sought shelter with some other friends and remained there for days and days and days on end. When I came back to the building about a week later, I found everything from, the shattered glass, which my neighbors had very kindly cleaned up, to the spray paint was still on the door and remained there forever. And I never really talk about it because I feel it's never really about me. But it's to let you know that if I, almost 23 years later, and still wake up in the middle of the night from this, and I'm safe, I wasn't harmed. Just imagine what it's doing to children. And imagine what it's doing to other people as well. And this, for me, was one time. For them, this is successive and repetitive, and it's done over and over and over again.
Is this the reason why you took this particular path to being an international human rights lawyer?
I think it followed me rather than the other way around. I definitely was obviously interested in Palestine, and I had studied law and then wanted to do something in Palestine. But initially, when I moved to Palestine, it was only to be for 1 year. I arrived in September of 2000, and the Intifada, the Palestinian uprising, had just started, and I was in shock by everything that I was witnessing and the brutality that the Israelis were meting out against Palestinians. And that, in a way, also, I said to myself, I just can't go back to Canada. I was born and raised in Canada. I just can't go back. You get this feeling that I have to stand with my people. During that 1 year where I was living in the West Bank, it was everything from from witnessing the brutality of the way in which soldiers were operating, to then putting up checkpoints and the way that they were brutal towards Palestinians there, to Israel's use of the Apache helicopter on Palestinians in Ramallah, to witnessing in Gaza the Israelis assassinate somebody.
You witnessed that?
I saw it. Yeah, the second time I was ever in Gaza. To then having to be pushed into rooms with the very officials who were calling and calling the shots on these assassination policies and on these torture policies and the policies of building settlements and the policies of building checkpoints.
We're going to talk about your career as a negotiator as well, but the fact that you're the only woman in those rooms, how did you compute that? How did it feel knowing what you've lived through? Did it ever feel surreal because those two worlds were clashing?
All the time. So watching that and then being in the room with these people who are calling the shots and who are trying to be chummy with you and trying to be buddy with you, and somehow having to carve out in your brain this space that says, okay, this is compartmentalized and this is not. And that was really difficult for me and continues to be very difficult for me. That isn't to say that I don't know how to be a professional, but being a professional doesn't mean that I erase the human. In fact, quite the opposite. The only way that I'm a professional is because I am human. I have these emotions and I have these feelings and I've had these lived experiences, and I'm not going to shove them in some sort of a can and close off the can and pretend that it didn't happen. Because by doing that, you ignore the real harm that is created.
Did you ever think that by you going down this route, being a negotiator, going down the law route, that it would help?
Oh, yeah. That was the initial thing was, I was young and I was naive. Very quickly that faded. I also had a lot of internal debates. I went from being the young, naive, it's just a question of law, and to then realizing that it's not a question of law.
That switch, when did you realize
Pretty early on, I would say maybe January of 2001, particularly at the top of talks when I saw the kind of the arrogance of the Israeli negotiators and the ways in which they were dealing with Palestinians. What the Israelis want is they want Palestinian acquiescence. They don't want a deal. They don't want to leave. The problem for me during that period was that there's nobody else. The Europeans were there. They didn't do anything. The Americans were at these negotiations. They did nothing. They just said, like, we're going to shove the two of you in a room together and let's just hope you get along and sign some sort of an agreement. And that just does not work. It doesn't make sense that as you're being beaten up, that you're going to be negotiating with the person who's doing the beating. It just logically doesn't make sense.
So was it harder than you thought it was going to be?
When it was more frustrating.
Oh, okay.
More frustrating. It wasn't difficult. At one point, the Israelis were showing a map of the West Bank, and one of the people who they had, who was their map maker, was an Israeli settler. And so he presented this map, and it's not at all a coincidence that the map where the border went around his settlement, and his settlement was going to be part of Israel. And all of these villages that were caught in between were somehow going to be we don't even really know what was going to happen to them. And I remember talking to him about it, and he looked at me kind of like stunned and said, of course my settlement's going to be part of Israel. Of course, like, why would you even ask? And so it was these kinds of things, of the ridiculous ways in which they behaved. One negotiator said to me that there's no such thing as international law. It's a figment of my imagination. Other negotiations where we would literally have to meet somewhere, and the Israeli soldiers would stop us at a checkpoint for hours on end, for hours on end. And you have to ask, well, who's going to be at a checkpoint? Who's going to see this other than other Palestinians? And the whole point was to show other Palestinians, look, we're even controlling your negotiators. Don't you even dare think that you're going to get anything from us.
Just to stay on your...
Okay, so to carry on, another quote from Diana Buttu, she says, "The world has said to us as Palestinians, you are going to have to sit down with your abuser, your occupier, the person who's committed genocide on you, and you're going to have to come to a deal. This is where it's so flawed." I would like to continue with a report that was released on January 28th, 2025 by the Human Rights Watch, stating that the Israeli blockade and genocidal attacks on Gaza's healthcare infrastructure in violation of international humanitarian law, as well as the use of starvation as a method of warfare, have caused acute food insecurity for most people in Gaza. This has also placed women and girls in life-threatening situations during pregnancy and childbirth. As a result, maternal health experts reported to have found that the rate of miscarriage in Gaza has increased by up to 300% since October 7th, 2023. I'd like to show you the main hospital in Gaza, Al-Shifa. This is the largest hospital in the Strip. This is 2017, before this recent escalation. And this is after a 2-week Israeli siege in April 2024. Al-Shifa was rendered unusable. And to add, according to a UN press release on the 3rd of January 2025, only 16 out of 36 hospitals in Gaza remain partially functional, and most hospitals lack the capacity to treat chronic illness and complex injuries. To date, World Health Organization has verified 654 attacks on healthcare facilities in Gaza. I'd like to finish with this quote by Diana Buttu, where she says, "For genocide to take place, there has to be a legal finding of genocide. People often think that it's just the mass killing of people. That's not it. It's whether they have put in place measures that make sure that life cannot be sustained." With that, I'm going to wrap up and introduce to you our next speaker. Her name is Laura Agel. You have to correct me on that. Laura is a Palestinian British organizer and member of Justice for Palestine, a human rights organization in Aotearoa, predominantly based from Te Whanganui Atara, Wellington. Kia ora, Laura, and thank you for joining us.
Kia ora. Thanks, Eilish. Kia koutou, everyone. I'm Laura. I'm a member of the coordinating group for Justice for Palestine. Just as Eilish said, we are a human rights organisation based in Aotearoa, made up of volunteers promoting peace, justice and freedom for the Palestinian people. Thanks for having me today, just for a few minutes to talk about our mahi, not just as a member of Justice for Palestine, but also as a Palestinian person. I'm Palestinian British. My dad is from Rafah and my mum is English. I spent a lot of my life, well, I grew up in England mostly, but I spent a lot of my early years in Rafah in Gaza, and I have a lot of my extended family still in Gaza now. They have recently set up a small group called Team Asal, which means honey, and they are providing food, water and aid to displaced people in the camps in Al-Mawasi, between Al-Mawasi and Khan Yunis. And Justice for Palestine has been supporting that work through donations. It's really important, Mahi, as I'm sure you all know, Israel is blocking aid from entering Gaza, and it has banned UNRWA However, the donations that we receive at Justice for Palestine for Team Assault go straight to Gaza. And through that support and through those donations, they've been able to deliver 4,000 litres of water to families a couple of weeks ago. And just last Wednesday, last week, we raised money and they were able to deliver vegetable packs to 20 families. And my cousin Amir, who is coordinating a lot of this at the moment, they're still living in the camps despite the ceasefire. There's nothing left of their home, so they can't return to that. But he messaged me and said that people have been so grateful when they've been receiving this food and water. They've been expressing their thanks and their gratitude, and it's really making such a difference. Mainly as the food prices are so high at the moment in Gaza. So I'll post a link in the chat for anyone who might like to donate, or if you know anyone who might like to donate anything that's going to go straight to Gaza, then please feel free to share the link. Any amount, however small, adds up and goes a really long way. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's really important to connect with others around International Women's Day. So I'm really happy to be here. I think we might share a little video. Thanks, Eilish. Yeah, of just from last week for Team Massel.
عليكم. اليوم الخميس 27/2/2025 بعون الله وتوفيقه قمنا بتجهيز 20 سلة خضار وسنقوم بتوزيعها على النازحين في مواسي رفح، ونشكر الإخوة الداعمين وبالأخص جاستيك فور بالستاين، وشكرا.
Kia ora, Laura. Thank you so much for coming on. And I just want to stress the importance of mutual aid, as it's vital for sustaining life in a devastated area such as Gaza. They're still facing ongoing blockade despite the ceasefire deal. So yeah, thank you for sharing, and for whoever wants to donate, please do any amount.
Right. Thank you so much, Laura. If you could please share the poster that you made so we can post it on our social media and post it around in here too, that would be great. Now I would like to invite Lema. She is the third speaker for a day. She's from Congo and she's here to share her experience with us today. Lema?
Thank you so much for having here. It's really a big opportunity. To be here with you guys is, I can't take it for granted. I just appreciate Shakti to invite me and all people who are here. As I was just listening for everybody, and my story is different. I think all of us, when we are celebrating this Women's Day, there is one part of the world they don't know who they are. For example, in my country. So since I was born in Congo and raised in Congo, and so since I was born, we just moved village to village. But I didn't know why we moved and what was the reason. And I just thought in my thinking, I think maybe God created people to live in that way. And so when I came to New Zealand, is how I start to realize that they can be okay. So as today we are wishing happy Women's Day, don't forget those women who are isolated, who they don't have any media who talk about it. And when we are on behind of computer and our cell phone, that is the big reason that I'm here. My country, especially my village where I was born, they found those raw material that the whole world they need for Tesla, for electrical cars, for all those we use in our modern technology. That is our big issue. So we ask God, why you put all those riches in my country? Imagine, it's very funny to understand we are the big country which is rich around the world, but people who live in that country, they are very poor. People, they live on less of $1 a day in big rich country where we have all those minerals. And I can say that women in Congo, like me, we are the mother of technology because we are in everything. So when those multinational companies, they come to our village, they found a group of people like how they are using M23. I think those is very bad. I was last year in Congo to witness that is going on. And I can't believe what I see with my ears. So when I went to the country from New Zealand, because I fly is 3 days, you are in the air, and I crossed to Rwanda. And when I see my country and how I used to see my country was very totally different. All people, they are very skinny. They all already lose hope. They don't know if they still be human being or what. So I went first for Goma. Goma is the capital of North Kivu. And after I had that opportunity to cross to my village to Bweremana. So when I found all people in the village, they was sitting, no hope, all they are seeing like that. And when I see my mom, I can't believe that people, they can have like a skin when you just be fat, you can be fat on the whole, in the whole body, but even the head, all the flesh, they already finished. And I see my mom and I ask my mom, how are you? He just talk like someone who are in hell, and I can't believe and say, oh, this is human being to be. And he said, oh, is you Lema? I said, yes, I am. And he said, Lema, I was witness all the bombing that was happening in the whole village because my mom, she can't run. She's disability, and all young people, they ran from the village, and my mom was only left in the village. And my village in beside of the beach, and all rebel, they are on the top of the mountain, so they can watch everybody. So people, they don't have anywhere to go. So people, they will just stay, and some who they will stay to try to run, maybe they can go to the lake. So they said, we don't have another option. And that is why the technology that is affecting us. When they come to the village, what they do, they take strong men, they take strong women, because we don't have like good roads to collect all raw mineral from where they found it in the forest, and they use people, women and children, to dig those real mineral. So if you become tired or you become sick, they said you are useless. They kill you. That is our technology we are enjoying in New Zealand and around the world, which is making big messy in my country. And I get the chance to go to the refugee camp because 8 million people, they force them from the village to go to the town. And if you see Goma is volcano, is like a concrete. So they put people on concrete to sit on that concrete, and it's very hot, no tree, no nothing. So, and they are in like greenhouse. So women can be on that house with maybe 8 children. So they prevent them if they have man, they have husband, they can't do nothing. So they are like there just saying if they will see another day, and they say thank you to God. So that is the situation for Congo. And like witness, and I'm very I can say give thank you for God to send me, so I can tell that story that is happening around the world that people, they don't know. So when you are enjoy your technology, you are wishing happy Mother's Day or happy Women's Day, remember those ladies who are working for you very hard. Because all of us, we are contributing for that things that is happening in Congo. And it's not okay for this time. We might be shamed how those people, they can live than to be enslaved. Because people in my country, they said it's better people, they can come to colonize them for the second time instead to be like that. So rapping is the one tools that they are using. In every 4 seconds, they are rapping women. And what they do, because they want you to have a bad memory and to say never again to go to that village, what they do, if they found you with your husband and your children, they take you and with the guns on your head, and they say sleep here, and they start to rape you in front of your children, in front of your husband, in front of and after, when they finish, they can put some material inside you. That is true history that is happening in my country. And that is to say, never again to go to that village. And mostly of those women, they don't have the chance to be educated because of ongoing war that was happening for 30 years now. People, they are still fighting. They don't know where they can ask for help. Always they cry. And now that M23, which they are backing for Rwanda and Uganda, who are supporting them, and all multinational companies who are giving them guns, they don't want peace to be in our country because they want to take all those minerals for free. And so people, they ask themselves, why they can't come in a good way to take the mineral and leave people alone? Because for me and my people, we don't eat those raw mineral. We just need enough things simple. We live a simple life, small house, and mostly of our economy is garden. So that is the people they need. But at that moment, people, they don't have any access to go to the garden to collect the food. So that is for people who we are here together. And I think this Women Days is a big reminder for all of us to think about the technology and impact of the technology for my people. And when we are using that technology, remember to be advocating for those who doesn't have voice, like in my country. So since I was born, so in my country, people, they don't have any opportunity to have like different between when I was child, when I was a teenager, and when I was woman, because all is just confused. And when you ask like mom, you ask how old are you? She can't have that different because they are moving and too much suffering. And if you see me, I'm wearing today on this colorful clothes, that is the symbol of our country. That piece we still waiting for the color to come in our life. Because when you are in war, when they are raping you, they kill you, they force you to do a hard job and no nothing, they don't pay you. You can't see the color in your life. Always you see darkness. And my people, they are in darkness, they can't see anything. Imagine the mostly that they are affected is women and children and young women, because it's that them who they are using for all those rebel. When they come in the village, they choose all good women, and you can't say no, because if you say no, they kill you. And young women, they don't know where they can go. So this time, I was talking yesterday with my sister-in-law, and she said to me, Lema, you might pray for us very hard, because we don't know what we will do. Because this time, the rebel, they are the one who are controlling the largest city of Goma and Bukavu. And so when they are going in the town and see people, you can't fix them like that. When you see, you just be like to fix ears for them. They say, why you are looking for us like that? So you get killed. So when they are passing the village, you might burn your head, and so they can go. And so people, they are not sure if that is what kind of life when you sleep, you are not sure if tomorrow you will see another day. That is the situation in Congo. And those is because of the mineral. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Enma, for sharing that. Any question anybody has, please ask before I invite Marianne before Karakia. Yeah. No questions? All good. Marianne, would you please do a Karakia? Before we leave, we'll take a quick little picture so everybody has something to remember. Is that okay with everybody? Just do a quick little screenshot. That's about it. No? Yeah, all good.
Can I just say something before we close, if you don't
Yeah.
mind? It's very, we deeply moved by Lema's talk, and it's not a talk, it's a cry from her heart. And we all pray that some solution is reached with all our intentions and hard work. And I hope you find some peace in this massacre, which is very unbelievable that it is happening in this time of the era, never there's so much of international humanitarian rights and everything. How come this kind of massacre is still being allowed to happen in a country? So I hope and pray that some solution for you and your country, and for the rest of the women, like what Lema said, it's not only Congo, it's quite a lot of countries. Women are really quietly taking a lot of assault and abuse in mass scale and singularly. We only can pray that we get to a stage where we are supported by these lawmakers and get more voice for us to fight for our rights. Thank you, Lema, for sharing your pain. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
So I just want to invite everyone who will be available. I will have exhibition on 5 April in Person B. So I'm artist. I do the art about what is going on about my country.
So do you think, Eilish, we can actually publish that in our Facebook page so that we will be able to promote that so we could all participate?
Yes, I will send an invitation.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and yeah.
Perfect. Great. Thank you, Dr. Shanti. Now, can we have Mariam for a interview? Thank you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Just to explain. Thank you, everybody. And my karakia is a call out to our women to be strong and to lay down the kaupapa that you've said today. Let it close at this hui, and let us be blessed with love and peace moving forward, in all humility for the goodness of our children to come. So, engari he anei te karakia, e te whānau, e ngā wahine kaha, ka mihi ka tangi mātou, kia koutou. Ki ngā wahine, e tū mai, e tū kaha, i te ao, i te rangi, i ngā wāhi katoa. Kia maumahara tātou ki ngā kōrero, ngā pukinga, ngā manaakitanga. Ka whakakotahi te mana o ngā wahine, i roto i te aroha, i roto i te tautoko, i te rangi Māori. Kia tau te mauri, kia tātou, kia tūrangatira ai, kia kaha ai, i ngā wāhi e noho ana mātou, kia mau ki te pono, ki te aroha, ki te mana. Haumi e, hui e, tāe ki e. Kia ora wahine mā, ngā mihi.
Kia ora.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I would like to thank you everyone for joining from Shakti team. If we could just do a peace symbol or so, and then I'll just take a quick screenshot if everybody's happy with it. Thank you so much. Can you do it? No, ready? Yeah. One more. I'll just quickly do it. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a good day and happy International Women's Day. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Shanti.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'll end this meeting. Thank you, Dr. Shanti, for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to get out. I can't.
I'll end the meeting, don't worry. Okay, take care.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Bye.